Om Sthampakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Janani Sharadam Devi Ramakrishnam Jagatguru Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmu. Namastri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Sori Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamini Tapaharini. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Vivekachudamani is a very extremely interesting text. Difficult as well as easy. Difficult because it demands the highest viveka, vairagya, etc. Obviously, that's why I tell the listeners also, please don't worry. Let us know what is the truth. Is it not? At least, even knowing itself is something. Instead of being totally unaware about the truth or what is to be done, what is not to be done. So it clearly defines, how far we should go, how we should stretch. It's very, very unequivocal. So that much is clear. We know this is where we have to go. Whether we are able to do or not, that is different. At least every now and then if we remind ourselves this is what we have to do, this is where we are stuck. So when that awakening happens, then we go much faster. So there is nothing to be feel, nothing about feel depressed or itna bol rahe hain, we are not that, we are there, because every second sloka says you must give up everything. He is uncompromises, total giving up. Sannyasa of the highest order is the only way. Not just the type of sannyasis we are, even much more than that. We are in a good house, we are living comfortably, above middle class standards, probably. Bhikshacharya chalanti, live on bhiksha, under the tree, without any protection, nothing, no roof. I mean, the highest type of vairagya or renunciation is what it demands. And how it is that? You need discrimination for that, you viveka. So, it can be, it would sound quite daunting and beyond many of us, doesn't matter. We have our own methods. So, even if you commence the journey, it's okay. One can go by, if you want to go from here to Benares, one can fly, one can take a train, one can go by bus, one can go by car, one can go even walking. It may take time, but we may commence the journey. So in that spirit you take it, so that you don't feel put off. And easy because if you read 2, 3 slokas, it is enough. The same thing is being repeated again and again, various ways. So there is not much to intellectually understand in every sloka. You will feel, "Arey, abhi to hi bola, fir bol rahe." What he talked about is again repeating. So because probably, like a torrential pouring simply gushes forth from the mouth of Shankaracharya, the highest truth. And to emphasize it, again and again, he little this way, little that way, giving one shade here. That way is emphasizing the same truth again. So let us go back a little in the sense that this is how it started. To know the truth, first of all, he has talked elaborately about the qualifications of the teacher, of the student. See, the point is, in the ancient days, the study of scripture was not a mere intellectual knowledge. ऐसे कोई नहीं आप बुद्धि से समझ ले. It meant you live that life. अब जब तक वही जीवन नहीं जी रहे, कोई फायदा नहीं. So, when they select students who are capable of not just understanding, but who are capable of living that life. Isliye, this is a very tough qualifications. Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, Iha Muktra Palabhoga Viraga, Shadadamadishat Sampatti Mokshitva. Like that, the Acharya also, he should be Brahmanishta, Shrotriya, Akamahata. So many qualities. So if the right teacher and the right student are together, it is taken, and the student places before the teacher 5 important questions. Based on that, the whole discussion happens. These are the questions he is asking, and the teacher is slowly covering all the aspects, answering him thoroughly, and finally leading him to the highest state of realization. Ko nama bandha. What is this bondage? Bondage, bondage, bondage. You will be saying, what is this bondage? So, because if you talk of liberation, before that you must know what is binding you. तब तो उससे मुक्ति के लिए आप प्रयास करेंगे. So first you should know what is bondage. So that is how is the first question. Katamesha agata. How does it arise? Because these are very fundamental questions. And these are questions which are really not fully answered till the end. Because how can there be bondage? If they are that Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava, Atman or Brahman, which is Ajara Amara, which is no birth, no death, no decay, no old age, no beginning, no end, which is Sachit Ananda Swarup, here is the question of bondage. How has it got bound? It's a big question. There is no real answer, even till the end. The point is, we know we are bound. From a position of realization of the actual state of affairs, we know we are bound. There is no doubt about that. How it came, keep it aside. We are there, we are bound, that is sure. And our real nature, through scriptures, scriptures are considered the greatest pramana. Shruti pramana is considered the greatest in the Hindu scriptures. By the proof of scriptures, we know in our real essential nature, we are not this. उसके लिए बहुत सारी तर्क है, arguments है, समझाना है. So many things are there. And from the lives of great souls who have lived that life. Because it is not that it's not only in books. What is stated in the scriptures, when they are lived by someone, then they become proven. Yes. That's why Gita also says, Yadyat acharati shishya tatti yavitaro jana sayat pramanam kurti lokastadanavartate. So whatever the great souls live and show, ordinary martyrs tend to follow that in their lives. So the Shastras become really fortified, proven, when you see people living that life. Otherwise, merely it makes no sense. Yes, you may state the highest, but where are such men? So over a long period of time, we have the tradition of extraordinary souls living that kind of life. So we have that pramana, no doubt. So, and also what they say is, don't worry about how it came. Supposing you are suffering from 102, 103 degrees, will you be trying to find out how I got this fever? First get rid of it. Take medicine, go to doctor, homeopathy, allopathy, sympathy, wherever you can, you go first. Get the medicine. And once you are cured, the question of fever doesn't arise at all. अरे तो खत्म ही हो गया, कैसे आया? No need to discuss that because it is gone. Similarly, the point is we know that we are bound. We know for certain there is a state which is beyond this. You get that, then automatically the question of how it arose, probably it can. Of course, he will give in his own answers, the mind, etc., etc. Katim pratishchasya, it is there. Katam vimoksha, how does one get rid of it? And then, ko aso anatma, paramah ka atma. What is this anatman? What is this paramatman? Tayor vivekaha katam etat uchchetam. How does one distinguish between the anatman and the atman? So all these, they give you in a complete, in a kind of nutshell, the entire crux of Vedanta. If you find the answers to these questions, you don't need to do anything else. These are complete grounding in Vedanta. Then you only have to live that life. So he has given everything. What is that? How it comes? How it goes? How it exists? How it continues? What is the difference between Atman and Anatman, every kind of question he has fully described. So we are somewhere in the slokas 170 or so. So many things is already that he has described. And again go through all that. Anyway, you will not miss anything because if you listen to 2-3 slokas, you get the whole essence again and again. So now he talked about Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, all those koshas he talked about. Then he says from here how this Manomaya kosha is really how it makes for bondage is how he's explaining this sloka 170. I'm starting a few slokas before to establish the continuity. Panchendriyahi panchavihi eva hotrivihi प्रचीयमानो विषयाच्य धारया जाज्वल्यमानो बहुवासन इंधनैः मनोमयोग्निः दहति प्रपंचम. What is that? The Manomaya Kosha is the sacrificial fire. This is the how he brings about a very beautiful analogy. Because the Manomaya Kosha is it's a combination of the knowledge, organs of knowledge and the mind, they form the Manomaya Kosha. The mental sheath, we talked of Pancha Koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So this third Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, it is the sacrificial fire. Panchavihi eva hotrivihi. These Pancha Indriyas, 5 organs, are the sacrificing priests. The Manomaya Kosha is the sacrificial fire. You need priests, hotas to do the ahuti. The Indriyas are the priests who are feeding into the fire. What do they feed? Prachiyamano Vishyacha Dharaya. Ajya is ghee. Ajya Dharaya, the continuous flow of ghee. They pour into the fire the oblations of sense objects. You have the Manomaya Kosha, which is the Homa, the sacrificial fire. The Indriyas are the priests sitting, and the Vishayas, the oblations of sense objects, they are pouring dharya continuously into the fire. Because now the Indriyas only gather all this from the objects, all that. So that is what they are pouring, and then so you cannot simply pour without any. You need fuel also. Jatvalyamano bahuvasana indhanehi. So the various vasanas are the fuel. They are basically they keep because if you supposing you keep iron in a home kunda and pour ghee, nothing will happen. You need the kashta, the indhana, the real fuel. That fuel, when it is the desires combining with, because suppose right in front of you a huge this much big rasagulla is placed, mind you. Supposing there is no desire in you, the vasanas are not there, you just look at it and ignore. Vishaya is there in front of you, the Indriyas, taste, the sight, they're all there, but there is no vasana inside, then it becomes absolutely, it doesn't affect you at all. When there's desire, then there's a desire to fulfill, desire to enjoy, then you go at it, then you take it, then you suffer stomach pain and all. So everything follows as a consequence. So the combination, the whole thing is fulfilled only when there is vasana. So vasanas are the desires, they are the real fuel. Vasanas. Manomayogni dahati prapancham. So with these, the Manomaya Kosha completely kind of burns out the entire world. The world, everything it brings into this sacrificial fire and puts everything and completely destroys everything ultimately. The real purpose, the real this thing, everything is completely gone because of this. Because ultimately, what is that? Destruction. That is the ultimate result. This Manomaya Agni, which is the sacrificial fire, it brings everything, put them together, completely destroys and burns. But at the end of all that, all experience, all vasanas, all desire. What is that? Completely you are burnt out. Nothing is left. People who indulge, people who participate, whatever you do, it's a uniform experience of the entire humanity. You feel completely burnt out, completely destroyed. At the end of the journey, there's nothing left in it. So this is how the sacrificial fire, the organs like ear, etc., are the sacrifices of the priest. Then they are the oblations of ghee or the vasanas, and then the objects are the vasanas, and then the objects are the ghee or the oblations, and then indana or fuel are the vasanas. Now, uh, the they perform the indriyas, they perform the actions of throwing the heavy oblation. What is the role of the priest? They keep on pouring the or throwing the oblations into the fire. Similarly, the sound, touch, taste, smell, etc., sense objects, they are like a clarified butter. There's a continuous flow they feed into the fire to keep it burning. So, the more and more the indriyas are active, more and more the fire is burning brightly. Otherwise, you would have seen in some homas, fire is not burning brightly at all because the ghee is of a poor quality, some adulterated ghee, and it's not burning at all. If there's real clarified butter, if the Indias can really catch hold of all the Vishayas, then there's a continuous like a dhara flow of ghee into the fire and is burning brightly. And on the basis of that is the fuel. Then only without fuel, the burning of the flame will not be very powerful. Vasana actually, it is explained, Vasana is that which makes for spontaneous recall of an object in the mind by the previous intense thought of it and without reflection of the antecedent and the consequence. And the Vasana, this is the power of Vasana. What happens, we have had some experience somewhere, something now, maybe years earlier, even before maybe previous births, several births, suddenly, like a lightning, it strikes the mind. And, it does not really go back into how it originated, what's going to happen if I indulge in it. Continuously, it rushes. So, only those who can arrest that flow, they alone are supposed to have that viveka or the power of discrimination. So, he says, Vasana is, it's so intense, it does not reflect about the antecedent or the consequence, what is going to happen. So the Vishayas are the binding agencies, they are all wrongly thought of giving pleasure. The sense objects, they bind us. People mistake it that they are giving you a lot of pleasure, etc. But invariably, all that end in dukkha only, suffering only at the end of it. So, flaming brightly without any break in the fuel or the dhara of the ghee of the Vishayas, finally it burns everything and there is total destruction. Because, the Dahati Prapancham, Manomaya Agni, Dahati Prapancham, there are different ways looking at it. Some say, because, the Agni definitely it burns, but does it burn the completely the objective world? Maybe in that sense, because when you pour, ultimately if you pour anything into it, it's safe and finally it becomes ashes only. Whether it is wood, whether it is the Naivedya, whether what the Bilopatra, whatever you put into it, everything gets kindly destroyed and becomes totally Basma. Agni completely destroys everything. Similarly, whatever may be your experience, Vishaya, this, that, everything, ultimately at the end of it, you feel completely drained, burnt, means completely drained, completely, nothing is left, and that is the condition of the Jiva at the end of it. So, again, he explains, he uses the technique of Anvaya and Vyatireka. Anvaya means, in a positive way, he is explaining, and Vyatireka in a negative way. So there are two ways of explaining a concept in the Shastras. So he will use both the methods to explain that mind is the cause for the bondage. Of course, it's all very simply, there is a simple sloka also, Maniya Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Moksha. Mind is the cause for the bondage as well as mukti. That we will see, we all know, we will explain also. Nahi asti avidya manaso atirikta mano hi avidya bhavabandha hetu tasmin vinashte sakalam vinashtam vijrumbe tasmin sakalam vijrumbate. So there is no avidya, nahi asti avidya manaso atirikta. There is no other avidya apart from the mind. And then manohi avidya bhavabandha hetu. The mind is clearly the vidya, the cause of the bondage of samsara. Bhavabandha hetu is this manas. And then tasmin vinashte sakalam vinashtam. When that is still, or when the mind is completely, vinashta is actually, literally it means like being destroyed. Mind is completely still, or mind is completely subdued, overcome, controlled, still or lost, you might say, as Buddhists sometimes say. Then everything is lost and everything is still. And then when it reappears and grows, vijrumbate asmin sakalam vijrum. So the whole thing, there is the entire life, our experience, our bondage, our liberation, everything is completely centered around just the mind only. So you can have any amount of examples, any amount of situations, and how it plays on different occasions in a totally different way. Supposing you're having some fever or something like that, you're lying down, then suddenly someone very dear comes. So we throw everything because you can't. Someone is so dear, meeting after a long time, maybe after years. You forget. The mind says, "Arey, forget everything. Fever later on." Then you go and entertain that person, spend time, talk sweetly, do everything. And when that person goes, again the mind says, "No, no, it's free. Are you lying down?" So how is it? If the fever is really true, it should have been there right through. So again and again we experience in our life, there are several innumerable moments when we seem to completely overcome the idea of anything. So when the mind says, no, आज Vivekachudamani जाना है, अरे कल चलो बहुत ठंड है, then you simply think. No, and the mind answers, no, जाना ही है, and the body simply comes. So everything is completely dominated by totally the mind only. Our sukha, dukkha, when somebody died, keep on how people are so blown over for years when we can't forget. Then suddenly everything is forgotten. Again, life journey starts. So you find how the mind plays constantly. Same person today is so dear, so light. Something a little happened, becomes lifelong enemy. अरे कल इतना तारीफ किया था, गले लगाया, आज क्या हुआ? अरे बिल्कुल बेकार है. See, just only the estimation of the mind only. Has anything happened physically? No, nothing has happened. What does it determine? How is it determined? Only by the state of mind. Something you like so much, next day you don't like. Something is so precious, next day is meaningless. So it's very clear, this very powerful instrument that is within us, this mind, that is doing all the trick. If this mind can be controlled, if it can be still, everything is done. We are totally, so many times it has happened. No, सुबह 5 बजे उठना, योगा करना, थोड़ा सो जाओ, 5:30 से करेंगे, 6 से करेंगे, 6:30 से करेंगे, कल से करेंगे. And again the same story tomorrow. No, जैसे भी हो आज से करूंगा ही करूंगा, कल सो जाओ, आज नहीं. Then you get up. Both, in one case the mind is very weak, it is yielding to the suggestions from the body, then it sleeps. The another case the mind is very powerful, it says, no, I am not going to listen, I am going to do come what. Then you test. So if you analyze our life, we are completely moved, completely made to run around, participate, not participate, withdraw, suffer, happiness, suffering, sukha, dukkha. Everything is completely the mind and mind alone. Thus, nothing else. Nothing else which is. So, one of the very classical examples they say, so in the dreamless sleep, there is no mind, there is no activity, there is no bondage, simply you are. But the moment, even it comes to the level of a dream, then again all activities start, everything happens. So, the mind alone is that which makes for avidya or which alone makes for bondage. People, how much, supposing, supposing we sit back and analyze our own life, we'll feel like laughing. What a silly way we have been living. How you have taken very small things so seriously and suffered endlessly. People suffer endlessly. So much of ulcer, these, that, acidity, so many other problems. Just because we attach something to something. So and so said something, gone. Our life is gone. That person is having a great time. He or she is enjoying. But we are suffering day and night. अरे ऐसा बोला, ऐसा बोला, क्यों मैंने बोला, मैं इतना किया, मेरे साथ ऐसा किया, अरे वह क्या छोड़ो यार. What is that? क्या कुछ लिखा है? Has anyone put a label on you? Why do you worry? So much. It's all imagination. A very fertile mind. All bondage. Imagine, if only honestly we look at our own lives, we find that how conditioned we are by mind and its play. Now ये चाहिए, ये होने में अच्छा है, ये नहीं होने में कुछ भी नहीं है. Then again, something else will come. Today you are aspiring for that. If it comes, tomorrow something else is going to take its place. It's only an exchange. It's not going to end there. Unless you cut it off and say, no, this is okay. Where I am, it's okay. If anything comes, come. Doesn't come, doesn't come. I don't care. You'll never be satisfied. Never be happy. You'll always be in bondage. Because you're saying, no. Tomorrow, if it comes, I'll be happy. Then something else is going to come. A new condition is going to come. Third day, another going to come. It's not going to end at all. What is the way? Cut it off. Right now, at this very moment. This is it. But nothing beyond. Then that is the way to liberation. That is the way to salvation. That is the way to emancipation. That is how we can. So, in dreamless sleep, the mind is still, they say. So there is there's nothing else there apart from the mind. That also we come to know later. That we'll all explain, we'll all discuss it. So the avidya, which is the bondage, so the mind only is the cause of this avidya. If the mind is functioning, there is bondage in the shape of identification with the body, etc. What happens when the mind is active, is powerful? It gives so much, it comes to the next, namely the body. So the body and mind, they work like a composite item always. It's a package. When one is there, other will always be there. So, immediately, the moment the mind becomes active, it first latches onto the body, motivates it, activates it, takes it in one direction, another direction. So together they cause all the havoc or the damage. So both by the method of Anmaya and Vyatireka, the accordance and divergence of the positive and negative, manas is seen to be the cause of bondage or samsara. So one is, when it is present, it's all happening, so it is. By that we know that mind is the cause for the bondage, is Anmaya. When the mind is present, what all happens when you analyze and understand that, then there is the Anmaya method by which the convergence or accordance by which we know mind is. What is the Vyatireka negative? When the mind is not there, nothing seems to happen. When it is not functioning, when it's still, then you find that there's no bondage, there's nothing like that. That's what is the state of dreamless deep sleep. Then nothing happens, absolutely still. So we know that both by the Anvaya and Vyatireka, we know that mind alone is the cause for bondage. And mind is still, everything is still. That is what one of the classical example is the dreamless state, because again when you wake up, the mind reappears, start functioning, and all the other things, all that you had left the previous night, all start again, rear their head, and again plunge you into various kinds of bondages. And then again I said, the ideas are not too many. Only again and again they will be explaining it in a very detailed fashion. Swapne arthashunye srijati swashaktya bhoktradi vishvam maneva sarvam tateva jagrati jagratyapi no visheshaha sastarvam etan manaso vijrumpanam. Swapne arthashunye. In the absence of, external objects in the dream. In the sapna, there is no external objects. You are sleeping nicely on your cot under the mosquito net. There's no objects. But then the mind creates everything. Swashaktya bhoktradi vishvam manevasa. How many things? You're sleeping, suddenly you're in America, you're in England, you're somewhere, you're here, you're in a conference, you're eating, you're sleeping. In your dream, you're seeing you're sleeping. That also happens. And you are fighting. Suddenly, I was sleeping, now I am fighting. Everything is possibility. Suddenly, when tiger is coming and devouring you, then you are coming out and killing one snake. All kinds of, totally. When you wake up only, they all appear meaningless. But in dream, they're all so real, absolutely real. People sweat, they scream, and they suddenly, oh, what is this? And people all come around. Oh, kya hua? I had such a bad dream, terrible dream. Acha, pani piyo, shant ho jao. Then again you go to sleep. So, where from all that has come? Were there snakes and tigers and houses and ice creams and cars and everything like that? It's all Bhoktradi Vishwam Maneva Sarvam, completely created by the mind only. And then, so it creates the enjoy, everything is created. Because, in the deep sleep, you are also quiet. But it makes you enjoy, it makes you kill, it makes you enjoy, it makes you taste. So it creates everything. Even the enjoyer is created with the mind only. Because you are not enjoying, you are simply lying, you are not part of it. But the mind not only creates all the objects of the Bhokya Vishya, everything, it also creates the enjoyer, makes him or her participate. Tadeva Jagradapi na Visheshadaha. So he says, similarly, there is no difference in the waking state. It's the same way. Tat sarvam etan manaso vijrimbanam. All that is only an expansion of the mind. It's completely, that's why every sloka you will find is virtually the essence of Advaita Vedanta. It says that our real problem is because we take this waking world, the existential world, to be real. That is all our problem. The sukha, dukkha, sorrow, suffering, everything is because we think that this existential world, the outside world, is real. That is creating us on the problem. But if you think deeply, what happens when I go to sleep? It all goes away. So in a real sense, this world has no reality at all. Supposing I go to sleep, maybe I have 100 crores property. I have everything. I put so much insurance, so many investors, so much precautions, so many consultants, day and night. They are doing all their waking time. How to protect, how to multiply, make it bigger. So when you sleep, if you don't get up at all those, so many people many don't get up from, they go to sleep, finish. There are instances like that, or when you get up or whatever, immediately you suffer and die or something like that. All that, where are all those? Have they any value? Have they any meaning? So they have only a limited value as long as you are in the Jagrat world or Jagrat Jagat, in the waking state. Otherwise, they have no meaning at all. So when you go to sleep, so why should I pay so much attention to that? When I go to sleep, it's absolutely not there. Why should I worry when I'm awake? Yes, to some extent, as long as I have to do something, a minimum, that is okay. But if you keep on, because there are many things in the waking world, they happen to various reasons. You have no control. So you have maybe 100 crores, suddenly the market crashes. the value becomes 1 crore. What can you do about it? Supposing you day and night you eat, then you develop blood pressure, sugar, heart attack. Again, what little money that also goes to the doctor. What is the use? Supposing you think that yes, it was there, it is not there, it is not there. That is Viveka. That is Vairagya. What it is there, it's okay. If it is not there, it's okay. That's what Viveka, because the whole thing is created by the mind only. Because what happens in the dream, so many scenes, so many drastic, clear, good, bad, everything, every kind of what all you can imagine, far beyond our imagination, they keep occurring so fast, so frequently, in so many colors, so many dimensions, and you are part of all that. Suddenly wake up, everything is gone. Nothing is there. Where are all that? That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to tell a very beautiful story. Many of you might know. And there was a farmer. He was working in the field. His wife was home. They had one son. And that boy suddenly died. Then the farmer's wife sent the message, come home immediately. So he came rushing and he was just sitting. And the wife became so angry. तुम क्या पत्थर, रोना भी नहीं आता है तुमको? लड़का चला गया, एकमात्र लड़का. One boy is gone. Can't even, are you stone? You have no heart. And he says, अरे मैं क्या करूं? मैं कल रात इतना सुंदर सपना देखा. Yesterday night I saw a beautiful dream in which I was a Raja and there were 7 princes. I have 7 sons, Rajkumars. And such a huge palace, so much of wealth, so much of enjoyment, so much of everything. And I was ruling and suddenly the dream broke. Everything is gone. He says, should I weep for those 7 sons or for this one son? Very real. Sri Ramakrishna always explains the highest Vedanta with most beautiful, simple parables. All that what Shankaracharya has taken 175 slokas, just one small, simple analogy. The same idea. Exactly what he has explained here. Everything in that one story. So, if you think really, if only we get a little of this, it will completely liberate us, at least from fear, from sorrow, from suffering. At least we understand this is the nature of the world. Vaise bani mein jagat hai. It has been made that way to create distortion, to create confusion, to create delusion in our minds. So, let us be alert. Let us not get caught. Because again and again it is going to come in various forms. Again and again it is going to trouble you. But only if you remember, this is his very nature. Main samajh liya. I will not get caught. Yes, okay. If you have good things, if you have money, if you have comfort, it's okay. If you have कुछ नहीं है, मेरा सिर्फ चावल दाल रोटी डाल के खाना है, वो भी नहीं है, जितना है उतना ही होगा. So some kind of a resignation, some kind of an acceptance would make our life far more wonderful. Because otherwise you're suffering endlessly over things we have no control whatsoever. See, आपका हाथ में है तो आपको करेंगे ना. This is something which you have no control at all. Why should we worry and lose your peace of mind and suffer physical and mental damage for nothing? So that is called actually, Viveka is not something rocket science or anything. Trying to accept the reality as it is and not grieve over things where we have no control, where you cannot do anything. It's okay, fine. This is how it is. This is how it is structured. फिर आ जाएगा किसी वक्त. So those people who develop it to some extent, they are the people who are largely happy, largely peaceful. क्योंकि जीवन में लाभ नुकसान सबको है. Even Ambani suffers लाभ नुकसान. Even a street beggar suffers लाभ. उसको सब मिला, गिर गया तो खत्म, कुछ भी नहीं. खाने के लिए कुछ मिला था, हाथ से गिरा, उस दिन बुखार आना पड़ेगा. जो मिला था वो गिर गया, खत्म. So everyone it happens. So how can we accept it? How do we accept life as it unfolds before? So if you read all that, if the mind is jagrat, then it will know, अरे रे रे ये तो धोखा दे रहा है. I'm not going to get caught in this. That's what it says. See, The Shruti teaches that the activity of the mind in the absence of objects is a dream state. When the mind functions, it's very powerful. There are no external objects. See, when the mind in the waking state, there are so many objects, it functions, that's one type of function. But in the dream state, when there is no external objects, when it functions, so it is the activity completely of the mind. In the so many things, it's such a small thing, you're moving mountains, you are simply, crossing rivers, everything, whatever totally unimaginable things are all got done. But then, there is which are absolutely not possible at all, because sense organs like eyes, ears, etc. are not functioning at all. When they are not functioning, when your eyes are closed, how can you see? How can you touch? How can you empty? How can you participate? Nothing is possible. So simply, the mind also, normally what happens when the senses perceive some sense objects, the mind goes. It only brings the information finally, because without mind, sense objects are absolutely useless. They cannot do anything. For the sense objects to sense the senses, you need the mind. So when you're in sleep, when you are asleep, when the senses are not functioning, the mind cannot go through them and access the sense objects. So without all that, without the senses also, the mind is completely creating everything. It creates the sense objects, it creates the enjoyer, it does everything always on the single-handedly, is having a great dance, is doing everything by itself. It does not need any other support at all. So the objects existing outside the body, they are all they have the because of the, and all these, the base of all that is the vasanas in the mind. According to the vasanas in the mind, in the dream they get created. Maybe the last thing you thought was that how nice it would be to have that wonderful ice cream from some bag. Then dream all kinds of plate after plate ice creams are being served, and you are also consuming it like a glutton. How can one can have hundreds of cups of ice cream? It's not possible in the dream. But the root of that is the vasana. As such, there are no objects. So, artha, that's why he says, swapne artha sunye. There is no object, material, but the mind creates its own objects by its own power. Swashaktiya, srijati swashaktiya. It creates by its own power all that. So, actually, if this question might be asked, if the jiva is experienced, how it can also be the experienced? In the absence of experienced object, there can be no enjoyer, because there is no experienced object. How can there be enjoyer? Who is enjoying it? So the mind is the cause of the creation of gene objects. It implies that the experiencer is also created to the mind, and these are all related to each other. When there is no experience, there is no experiencer, and conversely, when there is experience, there is an experiencer. So in the dream state, everything is created, so the mind is behind all that. So now what is this is that they are taking it so easily, for them is so easy. Tateva Jagrati api na visheshatha. The waking state is also similar. So that is why he says, the sarvametan manasu vijrambanam. All these are all creation of the mind only. Now this is something difficult for us to understand. We literally see everything in the waking state. How do you say it's all creation? Yes. Now you look at this, it looks like something. When you're in a different mood, you look at it, the same thing looks like something. So that's why in the traditional Advaita Vedanta, they give this Rajju and Sarpa, that example, etc. Snake and the rope example, so many things. In the next slide, you see a rope as a snake. You're already seeing, when actually there's only a rope. How do you see a snake? The mind is created because of the avidya, because of the jnana, because of the ignorance. So, like that, every day we go through these experiences again and again. So many things are created by the mind. So, obviously, how is it that today this person is so adorable, so wonderful, so lovely, and tomorrow is the most despicable person, worthy of the hatred of the worst kind? How? Has anything happened overnight? It's just a mind. The same mind, one set of words, it takes a great appreciation. The same words, when you're in another mood, आप क्या सोच रहे हैं ऐसी सी बात कर रहे हैं मेरे साथ? अरे तो कल तो आप बहुत खुश हुआ, एक काल में बोला था, आज क्या हुआ? आज क्या हुआ? क्या पूछ रहे हैं? So only the mind, because today is I'm in a different mood. What is this? It's the mind only, play of the mind. So many things you will see. How our perception, what we think, the millions of mistakes we keep on committing in our life. So all because of the mind. If only the mind is alert, none of these things will happen. Because all our misunderstanding, all our sorrow, all our sufferings, all our sense of loss, gain, good, bad, ugly, everything, just conjured up by the mind only. Otherwise, nothing. We are absolutely have no connection with all that. Just the mind says it is this, we accept this to be true. Again, the mind says no, it is this, we accept. So the whole thing is, completely it is the creation of the mind. If only we can handle this idea properly, then we get a beautiful way of overcome these obstacles or this bondage of the life. We continue to speak. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tatsat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanastu. Because in case some of you, if you have any, it's a very difficult text. If you have questions also, you can always ask. Last few minutes, I always leave for that. If anyone wants to ask anything, this week, next week also, you can always ask. So that, you get what little clarity is possible with you.
So, coming to the first time,
this is Vivekachudamani. Vivekachudamani by Shankaracharya.